Welcome back to another episode of the High Styx Highlights Podcast presented by Smith Sports Media. I'm your host, LJ Smith, and on this episode, I have Lissa Opolsky, the head field hockey coach at Northwestern Lehigh High School and U-10 coach here with High Styx Field Hockey Club. Lissa, thank you for spending some time with me.
Thanks for having me.
We're on site at Kutztown University for the tournament, so thank you for taking some time out of your day and coaching these wonderful athletes to kind of talk about yourself. So let's dive right into it. When did you first find out and learn the sport of field hockey?
I was actually really late to the game, so I use that to my advantage, in coaching and stuff like that. A lot of these guys, and my kid included, have started playing in the single digits, but I got recruited by my middle school English teacher. I was a soccer girl through and through, and in Pennsylvania, soccer was in the spring, so, we played just a lot of soccer, and she was like, you should really try field hockey, and my number one reason for not doing it was really materialistic at the time, but I did not want to wear a skirt. I was a tomboy and I wanted nothing to do with that. But lo and behold, she got me to try it and my friend included, and I played goalkeeper in soccer. So it was a natural progression of trying to play in field hockey. And, I just fell in love with it. Our high school team was really good and it always has been. So it just kind of took off from there and I was able to play both. I could still play soccer through my high school career. And I picked that up as my third sport in high school. So it was a little bit later in the game for sure, but it ended up working out in the end. And I am still obviously into it.
So where did you grow up? That way the viewers and listeners kind of know that area.
Yeah, so I grew up a little bit north of this area in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania. So I went to Crestwood High School and they have a few state championships under their belt. Someone very similar to Sue Butts had coached for a really long time. Her name was Elvita Gemsky. So my coaching career actually began with them. I went back and coached high school with them for a few seasons. We won another state championship and then, life took over and you kind of look for your own path. And that's how I ended up at Northwestern.
Wow. Okay. So talk about your playing career in high school and then getting recruited. What was that experience like for you?
So I would say very different than the athletes that are going through it now, just because of the idea of NIL and social media and everything that comes along with all of that. But in high school, I was very blessed to not know how good I was and just be naive about the process. Our high school team won the state championship when I was a junior and a senior. Winning was just the culture that we had. And I got recruited at a few different schools and went on junior days and got stuff in the mail and was so naive to the point where I didn't really know what I was getting. I was the first one in my family to go to college really, or even have sports on the radar. So my parents weren't educated in the process or what that looked like. So when I would get, student questionnaires, I would just think they were sending me junk mail and I would actually just not respond to them.
Okay.
So I was able to go through some of the U.S. field hockey system, and back then it wasn't called Nexus, it was called something else. But I ended up meeting a college coach at one of the camps I was at for U.S. field hockey, and I really liked her style. And I asked her where she coached at, and she couldn't tell me because of NCAA rules at the time. So I was like, okay, I went on about my business, not knowing anything. And at that time, July 1st was the date they could call you going into your senior year. So now it's so much different, right? Yeah. And she called me and asked me to go out on a visit to Iowa. Lisa Opolsky was who it was, and she was the goalkeeping coach at the time. Now she's the head coach at Iowa still. But I went out there by myself. I have two younger brothers, so my parents had baseball and basketball and all the things. So they're like, if you want to go ahead. So I got on a plane. I went by myself. She picked me up and I came home and I was like, Mom, I'm going there. And the rest is history. It was a great fit. I explain it to people because not a lot of people have been out to Iowa, but it's very similar to a lot of Big Ten schools, college town, big campus. It was just right where I wanted to be, even though it was 14 hours from home.
Yeah.
It felt close.
That home away from home feeling for sure.
Yeah. So from there, after college was over, you have to make some tough decisions about life. And I ended up coming back home, which I was thankful for, but playing had to end, especially as a goalkeeper. You don't have multiple positions you can train for. If it's not you on the next U.S. field hockey team, you kind of have to decide, do you want life to start and have bills to pay and all that stuff, or are you going to try and wait it out? And I had to find another way to incorporate hockey in my life. So coaching was what I picked up right away. It wasn't even a question. That was my way to stay in the sport. So that's where I landed.
So your playing career, what was that like? What was your experience?
Our team, again, we didn't know how to lose very well, so we did a really awesome job. We brought a lot of freshmen in my freshman year. We
Mhm,
were very heavy, a lot of us from the East Coast. So we took some lumps that freshman year.
mhm.
We actually played against Caitlin at Duke, and
Yeah.
like a lot of paths have crossed. But by the time we were sophomores, we won the Big Ten tournament 3 times in a row. And we ended up in the Final Four our senior season down in Louisville, and we ended up losing to Maryland in double overtime. Like, I could still play the goal
Yeah.
through my brain of what happened and who scored, and it was actually her name was Katie O'Donnell at the time, and now she's Katie Bam, very famous
Yeah.
field hockey guru
Wow,
who's been
yeah.
amazing in the sport, but I can tell you everything that
Clear as
happened
day.
that day.
Yeah, clear as day.
So it was very successful, but yeah, we would have loved to be playing in the national championship, but things
Yeah.
didn't work out that way, but it was a good time.
So you mentioned you conclude your playing career, you come back and coach at Crestwood. What was the next step after you at Crestwood?
After being at Crestwood, I'm younger. I'm in my early 20s. I'm not far from some of the seniors who are heading into their stuff. So it was good middle ground because I got to, be that person who was a little bit closer in age, but didn't have to be the person in charge. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot there of just like creating relationships with the different girls and seeing them through. I was also coaching club at the time up there. So I had them in different facets, but I had to look for a teaching job because that was paying the bills, not coaching.
Yeah.
And I landed at Northwestern Lehigh. So once I landed there, I needed to be involved. I wasn't going to put coaching away. I'm still not ever have that thought process cross my mind.
Yeah.
So I ended up becoming the head coach in 2014 for them. And then we haven't really looked back since. We did have a lot of turnover at Northwestern Lehigh when soccer left the spring and came to the fall.
Yeah.
Our school's really small, so it took a huge hit because those athletes couldn't play both anymore. And then we had some coaching turnovers after Coach McCullough, who was there for a really long time,
Yeah.
stepped down. So it was building back. The season before I took over, they didn't win a game. So I was a little bit nervous about what that was going to look like because I was not used to any program
Yeah.
I had been through, had been there. It was a process, and it took me about, 4 or 5 years. And a lot of kids bought into a lot of pieces, but over time it's really shifted.
Yeah.
And now we've had a lot of success. So on the back end, we also now don't know what that part looked like. So it's a whole nother challenge and a whole nother hump to say, like, we don't deserve to be good just because we've been good. We have to do all the things to make sure that that continues.
And that brings us into what is your coaching style, your philosophy? What does that look like?
It has to change based on who I'm coaching because I've
Correct.
got the high school girls on one end, and then I've got 8, 9, and 10-year-olds that I'm
Yeah.
coaching at High Styx. So you can't be the same person, but you can definitely have the same mentality. So my strong suit was through high school and college. I was fortunate enough to be the goalkeeper and have to organize the backfield and lead the team. So hockey IQ is my main focus. I love the game, the strategy. Now that I'm coaching, my competition is, can I outcoach and outstrategize the person who's on the other bench? Because I can't play. I'm not
Yeah.
the one scoring the goal. So what can I do to make that happen? For High Stakes, I think I bring that idea to our little kids because sometimes you don't teach them that because they're little. But for us, we push them to kind of try and understand some of those pieces early
Yeah.
so that they can then take them with them throughout. You're not breaking a bad habit later down the road.
Correct. Yeah.
When it's too late, you can teach them that stuff and then kind of build on it.
Why are you so passionate about coaching and teaching this U-10 group, the
You
sport of field hockey?
I have someone invested in it. My daughter plays Lainey since she was born, and I never stopped coaching. So she's basically been on the field in a playpen,
Yeah.
walking around with stuffed animals and stuff like that. And my high school girls have been amazing with her. They pass with her, they teach her things. So she gets out there and she thinks she's starting varsity right away as, a 6, 7, 8-year-old. She's standing on the field. So I'm invested that way because I want her to love it just as much as I did, to
Yeah.
learn all those things that I learned through sport that have helped me outside of sport. I really think field hockey and my time at Iowa and even at Crestwood really prepared me for some of the challenges through life that you don't know are going to pop up. And without them, I wouldn't have been as like mentally resilient or been able to problem solve as well, or, in my job, be as forward and productive as I am because I've had to always do that in sport. I really want our young athletes to have that experience, to be able to have those skills later in life, because the truth is hockey does come to a close. It will end. When it ends, obviously depends on what your path is, but that end isn't the end. You take those skills with you and you draw on, oh, that's because of hockey. That's because of the schedule I had
Yeah.
or the commitment that I had to have. The hockey IQ and all those soft skills that come with it are really important to me.
And those transferable skills that go from sport on the field and athlete to your everyday
Yeah.
life. You're planting that seed in the U-10 program and
Yeah.
even in your high school athletes to be better adults.
And the high school athletes have done a great job because we run a lot of youth stuff as well. They volunteer their time to get out there and teach them. They're here today watching some of them that they've coached on the side. They love seeing them, and obviously the little kids light up when they see them.
Why do you enjoy coaching and choose to coach at High Styx?
High Styx has been a great balance. My high school girls have been here and chosen to be here because most of them are 2 or 3 sport athletes, and it allows them to do those things while still being committed and playing hockey at a high level. I'm really invested with a lot of the coaches who also kind of come with the same philosophy, and I think it's a great option to do all the things.
Yeah.
And in today's society, I don't think everyone's always open to being flexible in that way. So I think it's really important that if you want to try something or if you want to play basketball and field hockey, not that it always works out, but there's an avenue to kind of try to make it all work out.
And then as we get ready to wrap up the episode here, why should parents and athletes choose High Styx Field Hockey Club over other clubs that they have?
I think High Styx offers a lot of balance in life. Like I said, you're going to get coaches with different styles and different philosophies. They're going to be coached by someone different than their high school or youth coach that's going to maybe demand more of them or say it in a different way. So maybe they won't necessarily be doing a different drill, but they get more out of it because they're not hearing the same voice. They're also getting, those soft skills that are really important to probably all of us in some way, shape, or form if we all sat down together and talked about them. And I think everyone at High Styx is really invested in what the future of hockey overall is going to look like, not just at High Styx, but in Pennsylvania, in the United States. We want to see our teams continue to be successful at the highest level.
Thank you so much, Lissa
Thank you.
Opolsky, the U-10 coach within High Styx Field Hockey Club and Northwestern Lehigh High School coach. Thank you for spending some time and sharing about your journey through field hockey.
Thank you.